my name is Brianne and this is Bree's Knits. Today I am going to do a classic podcast style video. I'm trying something new, as you can tell. I'm not in front of my wall in a sitting area. I kind of just in front of an actual lighting source, because usually I'm at my table, which this lighting source is coming from the side and not in front. And usually that's because like I don't really like my background and like where the source is hitting me directly. Oof, my cats are wanting attention. So I'm sitting in front of a good natural lighting source, so our window, with a little bit of a backdrop kind of thing. Obviously you can see like some space right there, but you'll probably see a lot of cats in this video now because I'm on the floor and they're like, great, time to get some extra attention. But yeah, I guess without further ado, let's jump into the video. I do have like something for each category this time, so that's exciting. Also, if you guys watched my like what's in my stash video up until the very end, thank you. That video was a beast to edit, and even to get it to export, like it took a while, so I really appreciate it if you stayed that long. Also, I went to the bookstore recently and I got this little sticker. It just says, "I'd rather be knitting." I mean, I wish it was a little bit more aesthetic, but the bottle is like very bright. So it's like, this is going to be my sticker bottle, maybe. So, yeah, that's it really. I put on some makeup and like only in this light does it feel like whatever, it's fine. So anyway, for finished objects, first object I have is my Turtle Dove shawl by Sari Norland. I'll just kind of, this is one end, and that way you could, I also wanted to sit in front of this window too so you can actually see the color of the yarn a little bit better. But there we are. It should be, the dimensions are off. I didn't gauge swatch because for things around my neck, I'm like, it's okay, like it's not really that big of a deal. I was like, oh, it's kind of a small shawl, and then I remember watching Amy from Knits, and I was like, oh, like mine is way smaller than that. So then I pulled out my the ruler, and yeah, sure enough, I forgot what the amount was, but I'm a significant amount of centimeters short from the actual. Let me see if I wrote it down in my projects page. I probably did. Oh yes, I'm 92 yards short of the actual like shawl size. I think because of, since it is like, I was kind of hoping because it's cables it was just all block out, but this is blocked. But I think probably what happened was I needed to go up a needle size because I just going back and forth, I realized my tension's pretty tight anyway, but I think going back and forth I'm like trying to make sure no stitches are slipping or like there's still some definition to the stitch, so I'm like tightening it every time I knit. So that is probably what happened here. So I could have benefited from a bigger needle. But like I said, it's okay. Like I do like, I've worn it a few times already since finishing it, and usually I've kind of just done like with this little number. It is a little thick though for doing that, so it's kind of awkward a little bit, but I have seen some videos of people, what they do with like their silk scarves. They get like a necklace and they kind of loop them together and wear it, kind of like that, if that makes sense. But again, it is kind of big and it's not a silk scarf, but yeah, I think for the most part what I've done is I've kind of folded it like this and then done this, and then I'll show it off later, where sometimes I kind of just let it hang around my neck without really tightening it like this. I just do this, kind of keep it there so that way you can still see the stitches, but not really, like it's not as big as it should be, honestly. The yarn for this was a fingering weight yarn from the Cashmere Cavern Sock by Explore Knits and Fibers, in the color Fia from their Ireland collection. And the mohair was Job's Kid Silk mohair, and I think it's called Powder. But I love how they both came up. I had contemplated doing it with the purple mohair, but I just felt like the purple mohair kind of overtook the color, and I don't know, like it was still nice, but definitely not for me. Let me see if I have a swatch in here, actually. Oh, I do. Okay. So this is, I was just swatching to see what color combinations I liked best. So this is the purple swatch. Here, maybe that will look better. And then this is the one with the powder, the color I ended up choosing. So it kind of, it's like a bit of a difference. So I preferred the powder better. Let me see. Focus, focus, focus. There we are. I just prefer the powder. I think too, like, with just like my skin tone, I just think it looks a lot better. I'm realizing that pinks are like my color. Although I am getting kind of tired of pinks, like, but I do have a lot of pink-ish hues left. I think I just want to try out other colors that might look as good as that. So, but I do like it. I feel like it's a nice, like, neutral, like my neutral for like adding to everyday wear pieces. I do have some yarn that I was going to frog from a sweater I made a while ago, and it is a true DK weight. So I was thinking about just making another one with that, maybe a couple more with that yarn, and potentially give them as gifts with their true size, and have one for me as well. That would be the true size of the shawl. But nonetheless, it was a very nice pattern. I think it's my very first Saudi pattern. I know I have like a lot of her patterns in my favorites. I just never pulled the trigger because it seems so like complicated and like very labor intensive. At least it would be for me. Like, I know she knits fast, so she has sample knitters. So I just like, I think one of the ones I really wanted to try was the Billy pullover, but after seeing some videos, I noticed some people said because of the honeycomb stitch, it is a little like tighter than they'd like from an Aran weight. And it's not super cold here to wear. I don't wear a lot of Aran weights. I think the heaviest I wear is DK. If it's an Aran weight, it's in accessories. It's not in garments. Just because it would get too hot. But where was I going with that? I don't know, but well, first Saudi pattern, I believe. Yeah, I think it's my first one, which I like. It was very nice. Once you got kind of like the hang of the chart, I think a lot of people say that, like, once you get the hang of a pattern, it starts to become very intuitive. The only thing I would say is like the bobbles, mine are not as consistently like bobbly, I guess. Like here you can see this one almost looks kind of flat, whereas this one isn't. And I just noticed that after that, the bobbles, I really had to knit really tight in order to get the definition kind of like here of a bobble. So I do actually like sitting in front of this light source because it feels like my camera is focusing better. But yeah, it just seems like you kind of have to knit very tightly after the bobble in order to make sure that it protrudes out a little bit more, at least for like a couple of rows after the bobble. like within the same row, like after that stitch, you have to tighten it really tight so that way it kind of protrudes out more. And then it just feels like the rows afterwards, you kind of have to make sure that you're not like letting any of the stitches around it get too loose. Otherwise, it won't have as nice of a definition. Like even here, you can see that's supposed to be a bobble, but it's not protruding. So maybe I could have gone like 2 needle sizes bigger now that I'm thinking about it, because I definitely was like wrapping it really tightly. Okay, so I think I've spoken enough about that one. My next finished object is also a first for me, and it actually completes one of my goals for 2024. Not that I'm gonna stop here, but I knit my first pair of socks. Like I completed it because a while ago I did start a pair, but I think I just got really intimidated for some reason and I just ripped it back and didn't finish. But these are the Hearth and Home socks by Lindsay Fowler. I believe that's the name. Sorry, my cats are about to take this whole production apart. Anyway, it is the Hearth and Home socks. It has the Andalusian stitched throughout most of the pattern. I'm trying to make sure it actually focuses. But yeah, it has this stitch pattern, which is a very easy 4-row repeat. It's literally just knits and purls. So if you know how to knit and purl, you can make the sock. It's not that hard. We got just the like heel flap and gusset construction. I think it's just I don't know too much about socks, honestly. But the toe is a Kitchener stitch toe. And I found it like a pretty beginner sock maker friendly pattern. It's not a regular vanilla sock by any means, but it's like vanilla with like a little bit of flavor, a little bit of spice. So I made these for my husband. I made them in the biggest size, just like based on the dimensions that I had. I did. Oh, I didn't even say what the yarn is. The yarn is Explore Knits and Fibers. It's My Guinness from the Ireland collection as well. It's just this really dark brown, like moody. I forgot what the beer is technically called. Is it an ale? I don't know, but it's My Guinness. He actually chose the color himself. I thought because of the yardage. So also like I didn't do a gauge swatch and I did hit gauge, but now I'm realizing that I only did it flat. I didn't do it in the round. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but it was supposed to be 440 yards of yarn for the biggest size, and I ended up having 9 grams left of my 100-gram skein, because I thought I was going to have to add a little bit of extra, like a different color into it, because I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that, like I'm only 5 yards off. But it ended up being okay. Again, I don't know why. The length of the foot is perfect. The only thing about these is that the leg portion is a little slouchy on my husband's foot. I think because it's just like standard sizing. Here we go. And they're the same. I'm so proud of that. Like I made it exactly the same length, and the toe starts at the same point. Like I'm so proud. But I don't know if it's because like standard sizing, if you're like the biggest size of the foot, if it means you kind of have like a bit of a bigger ankle, but or like a proportional ankle, if that makes sense. But my husband is actually like quite skinny, so his ankles are not like wide by any means. So it's kind of like it was slouchy on me. Like I tried it on. Obviously, it didn't fit the foot part, but just the leg portion. was very slouchy on me, and it was kind of slouchy on him too. So I don't know if that was like the intention of the sock. It doesn't seem like it. It feels like it should stand up on its own while it's on the foot. So I might have to, if I make him another pair, is knit a smaller size in the leg and then try to figure out how to pick up enough stitches to get it for it. Because it's like his ankle, the leg portion is thin, but then his, like at the ball of the foot section, it like is a little bit wider, but the rest of his foot is still thin, if that makes sense. Like it's not an overall wide foot, it's just like one portion of it. So I just have to figure out kind of just how to modify it a little bit to actually fit his foot. But overall, he's very pleased with them. He's been wanting a pair of hand knit socks, but now that he has a pair of hand knit socks, he's like, these are way too nice. Like, I don't want to wear them because I don't want to ruin them. And I'm like, that's the point. They're supposed to be worn. So I was thinking about maybe getting the West Yorkshire Spinners. I forgot what the base was, like their signature sock base. So it's like stripy, and it doesn't look like a commercial sock, but like, I don't know if it's the color or if it's the stitch or if it's just that he knows that it's, like how much time I put into it, because I did start it in January and I only just finished the second sock in last Friday, so the 23rd of February, because I was also working on this and I really wanted to do something for me. I was also working on part of the Moby sweater, but I'm going to have to recast on. I used the back yoke increases as like a swatch, and what ended up happening was that I was a few stitches off, so I need to go up a needle size or half a needle size up. So you know what too, is because for a while I paused on the Moby sweater. This is just going off a tangent, but basically I'm done with the socks and I'm very pleased with them, and my husband really likes them too. But anyway, so the Moby sweater, I didn't realize I made a goof too, because I bought the same yarn for my son's Moby sweater that I did for my husband, or I bought the same for my husband that I did for my son. But the baby Moby sweater is in a DK weight base, and the adult version is in an Aran weight or worsted weight yarn. I just got DK for both of them. So I kind of just assumed like, oh, I usually get the same stitch gauge as Petite Knit. So I was just going to go ahead and start because I got the same stitch gauge for the baby one. So I just went into it with size 4 needle, or 4mm needle, US size 6 needle. And it was actually a little too small, and then I was like, oh, what did I do wrong? And I was watching Amy from Knee Knits too, and she mentioned worsted weight yarn, and I was like, what? So I cross-referenced, I took a look at my pattern, and I was like, oh, I got a DK weight base. So of course, like that's why I need to go half a needle size up to 4.5. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I took it off the needles and I just need to start over. But it's Cascade 220 super wash, but it's the DK weight base. I've talked about it before. I don't know why I just brought this up again, but basically gauge swatch and gauge swatch as the pattern designer intends it to be. Anyway, on to the next thing. Speaking of gauge swatching, my whips. I only have one whip right now actively on the needles. It's kind of in the middle of a row, so it's a little bit odd. But I am currently, as soon as I finish those socks, I immediately cast this on because I have wanted it since the pattern has come out. But it is the Daft Days cardigan by Rebecca Clow of the Creabea podcast. So I kind of just have the ribbing done and my first contrast color, and I'm working back in my main color right now. But I said, speaking of gauge swatching, is because I did gauge swatch for this. I did a I think it was like a 3.5 gauge swatch, but ended up being way too small. It was only 2 inches by 2 inches. So I did go up a needle size and it was still too small. And I went up to a 5 millimeter needle and it was perfect. Again, I think because of the slip stitches and because of the back and forth, I am like the way I knit is just I'm automatically tightening it even further just to make sure that the stitches are even and my tension is even. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but this is the needle size it took to get gauge. So I did have to gauge swatch a few times, but I'm here. I'm finally working on it. It has gone by pretty quickly, I think, for I don't know, for my knitting anyway. But the yarn I'm using is Sanasgarn Double Sunday. This is in the colorway Almond. It's like a creamy off-white color. I love this color. I think it looks great. I saw it on those Twins Who Knit, their podcast. I think they showed a few garments in the almond colorway, and I was like, absolutely, I need that same color for the Dafties cardigan. So, because I was looking around for like a good cream color as a base, and the podcast watching helps helps with ideas. But I know some people had like I guess it's like a similar comment of like how springy Double Sunday is and how it could kind of mess with their gauge. But I think because of how I knit, like I think it's perfect. So I love this yarn. I would totally use it again. And I think I will, honestly, because the only thing that not that it stopped me before, but I don't have that many local yarn stores that stock Sanasgarn. Actually, all of the ones that are local to me within a 20-minute drive do not stock Sanasgarn. So that kind of sucks. The only one that does is like an hour away from me, and I can't justify always going just for yarn, if that makes sense, because then I have to plan a whole day around that, and it kind of is just not the vibe. So I looked up Sanasgarn. I know there's a retailer online called Mother Knitter that stocks it. So I was just looking it up to see if maybe somebody else started to stock it on their website, and then I saw Ritual Dyes stocks it in their website, and I happened to come across it when they were having a sale, so it was like $2 off. I think it's $9. I think it was $7 a ball of yarn. Maybe it was less. I feel like I paid less, but I feel like $7 seems right. So I ordered enough for the cardigan, and I ordered a little bit more for a Stella quilt cushion. So there we are. But I do really enjoy working with it, so I can definitely see myself ordering more again in the future. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to say. I did see, so there is a yarn that I did have for this. I don't have it out with me right now, but it's a yellowish yarn that I bought at the SoCal Fiber Festival or Fiber Fair, but the maker didn't have labels on them, so I couldn't tell the color way, and I was kind of dumb, I guess, because in that regard, like I could have just reached out to the seller and asked her like what the color was or if she still sold it, but I didn't. So, my cats are playing right now. So what I ended up doing was just trying to match based on what she had on her Etsy store, and it's a totally different color. That's not yellow by any means. It's like super orange. And then I saw recently she started posting some reviews that people gave her, and some people were like, oh, she didn't dye this color anymore, but she was kind enough to dye more for for them to finish their project. I did consider that because it is a nice yellow that I do think would complement the cardigan as a whole. But part of me is also like, should I just leave it out, or should I just do like because then it would have been 5 colors of stripes. So I was thinking, like, what if I just do 4 colors, and then in the middle of the cardigan add the yellow, and then try to see if I had enough for the sleeves, or just do it for the body, if that makes sense. But I don't know. Let me know what you think, I guess. That one I'm just not sure about, because it's kind of a bummer. And like, I guess I don't want to go out of my way. Like, I should have done it beforehand already. That's just what I should have done. But I didn't because I wasn't thinking, and I just wanted to start right away. But because of that, I have a skein now that I have no idea what to do with. And I should have just reached out in the first place, because she obviously is very accommodating and would have done it. But I didn't. So now, but I do like how the yellow looks with the, so the pink is Explore Knits and Fibers. It's their Cashmere Cavern sock in Irish Heather. It is from their Ireland collection. I really liked it, but because it's a single skein, I didn't know what to do with it. So I just rolled it up into 10-gram balls to use for this project. But I feel like there's definitely like some like warmer tones and like a deeper like yellow brownish color. So I kind of wanted to, let me see. I think that's too dark, but yeah, I don't know. Like, I have this orange that goes with it too. It looks a lot brighter in the light right now, but it's more like a rust orange. But I wanted to have like a yellow that goes with it, but now I'm like, maybe I just won't. It'll just be the orange as the warm, and the like have a purple running through it, and like a taupe color to kind of balance it all out. So I don't know. I was just a little bummed about that, but maybe I'll just use that Dyer's yellow with the orange that I ordered for like a sock. I think that could work pretty well. But anyway, that is the discussion of my Daft Days cardigan. The other yarns I'm using are mini skeins. One of them is a full sock skein. It's from Gem Luxe Fibers. They were also at the SoCal Fiber Fair. It's in the color Chocolate Opal, which I think is discontinued though now. I got that one because it's more like a purple brown taupe color. So it goes pretty well with the cardigan, kind of balances out the pink before you go back into the pink stripe. And this color too, it's called Mariposa by Silver Penny Yarn Co. And then there's a purple yarn. I just don't have it with me right now, but the purple yarn is from Sincere Sheep. I think they're from Northern California. I met them, though the owner was really nice. And their kid was there as well, and they were also very nice. The yarn is very, like, it feels like a luxurious yarn, but I think it's a Cormo sheep yarn. I just like it. Like, I like the texture of it. It's really nice. But the color of that one, I believe, is called Deepest Desires. She has it on her website too right now if you wanted to go take a look. I've talked about that color too before. I've mentioned it in my vlog, and I think even in my stash video. But it is a very beautiful purple, and it goes with the cardigan very well. I think it's just because I had a vision in my head with the yellow that I was like, oh, that'd be perfect. But I don't know, things change, things shift, so maybe not for this one. And next time I will just get enough. I'll get more than what I think. I mean, I know this game, it's like, try to get more instead of not having enough and regretting it, because you just never know what's going to happen. Okay, so moving on from the whips, I do have a few acquisitions. So if you would like to stick around for that, you can. If you don't like acquisitions particularly, you don't have to stay here for that. But I'm like trying to finish this row before I go into acquisitions. So maybe I can tease it out a little bit. So I have a book acquisition that is knitting related, and I also have yarn acquisitions. The yarn acquisitions, like I mentioned about the store that sells Sunnis Garn in Pasadena, I actually had a day out with my friends on Saturday the 24th, and we went to Pasadena because we wanted to try this coffee shop called Mandarin Coffee. It was a very delicious coffee shop. It's really cute. It's called the Burlington Arcade, which I have been to the Burlington Arcade in London. But for some reason, like the name didn't click, I guess, until afterwards when I was posting my reel on my Instagram, if you guys follow me. And it's just really cute. It's just like way smaller than some of the arcades I've been to in England. Like the walkway is really small. But in general, it's really nice. I think from what I've seen in that arcade, there's a lot of Asian owned like small businesses. My cat was playing with the cat. But it was really nice. The Mandarin coffee was very delicious. I forgot what the name of the coffee I got. It's chrysanthemum based though. I was gonna get a different latte that was like very like usual to what I get, but I was like, you know what? It's a new coffee. I drove this far out to try something new, so I'm gonna try something new. And I got it, and I'm really glad I did. It was a very balanced latte. So if you're, well, not latte, I don't even know if you'd call it a latte, a specialty drink, I guess, because the cup was like this big, and I was like, oh, it was really good. I just wish I had more, you know. But it was a very well balanced drink, very well rounded. The chrysanthemum, like I've never had chrysanthemum in a drink, so I just didn't know what to expect. I did tell the one of the baristas was like, you know, I would consider myself like semi-adventurous. Depending on the flavor profile, I don't like super sweet drinks. I prefer sweetness level at the very least to be balanced. I don't want one of the flavors like jumping out at me or anything like that. So she did recommend that I try like their popular specialty drink, which is the one with the chrysanthemum in it. And she was just like, you know, just think of it like a regular old floral latte. It's very similar. So I was like, okay, I'll go ahead and try it. So I did, and I'm really glad I did because it's very good. It's very delicious. I just wish I had more. That's literally my only gripe with it because it was so good. But that's the only size that they offer, I think, for that one. But that's why I was in Pasadena that day. But I did get there a little bit earlier than my friends did. So what I ended up doing was I walked over to Wool House because they are the ones that sell Sunnis Garn. And the only thing too that I would have to say about that is that Wool House, they do have a website, but I don't think they're like their website is set up to sell yarn from the website, if that makes sense. So that kind of sucks because I do like a lot of the stuff that they offer, and they even have Isager yarn, and they have like this mohair by them. They have a few of their like summer blend yarns, like with wool and summer yarns or summer fibers in the yarn. So like I wish they did. Maybe that changed. Like maybe I'll go ahead and check. And then in editing, I'll just like put like yes, they changed it, or no, they didn't change it. But from the last time I saw on their website, I was bummed because they didn't sell it online. They just mostly showed like announcements on their website, and that was it. But yeah, I wish they sold it online because then I wouldn't have to be like, oh, I have to drive a whole hour and I have to like make a purpose and a plan. Give me 1 second. You good, friend? So yeah, so I was like, I don't want to have to like drive out there for no reason And they have like a lot of the Sanasgarn like summer fibers that I want to try too. And I just wish that they would have it in like online. It's just like my local knitting store too. Like they have a lot of good options, but they don't have Sanasgarn, and then there's another one within 20 minute driving radius. They don't sell Sanasgarn either. They sell a lot of just like 100% cotton, and I want to try other fibers. So anyway, I mean, they do sell like the one closest to me does sell Noro, which is really nice. I almost got the Noro silk sock because they had the sake color, but I had a very specific budget, and I was like, I am not, like, my local yarn store sells Noro, it'll be fine. Like, there are other colors I really like from Noro too, so like, just relax, Brienne, chill out, it's okay. But yeah, like what basically like they have and then my local yarn store sells Brooklyn tweed, but they don't have all the colors that I've seen at Wool House that I really like too. And then Wool House just got West Yorkshire spinners, and I don't know, I just wish like I could support them in some capacity other than like waiting to go, but they've been there for a while, so obviously like they got enough support. But anyway, without further ado, I got a yarn that my husband has been wanting. It's from Brooklyn Tweed, and like I said, my local store does have Brooklyn Tweed, and they have these bases, but they don't have this color. And when I check online with Brooklyn Tweed, they don't have the color anymore. And I was like, okay, I need to get it now, because the last time, which was a very long time ago, that I went to Wool House, my husband saw this yarn and was like, I kind of like that color. Like, it's interesting. And I probably, like, he's funny because he's like, I probably wouldn't say that I like that color, but he's always been into like funky colors before, or like not funky, but like really bright and out there colors. Like when I met him, and then I think because I was like, oh, like I think this color looks really good on you, or this color looks really good on you, or like these textures look really good on you. He kind of refined it a little bit better. But he's always been into like brighter colors, funkier looks. So it doesn't surprise me that he picked this yarn, but it is Brooklyn Tweed Loft, and it's the colorway Caraway. Feel focused. There we are. So it's got this gray throughout with some yellow and orange speckling. Before they only had it in their shelter base, which is a worsted weight, but now they have it in their loft base, which is they have it classified as a fingering. Yeah, no, it is a fingering for sure. But the only thing is that the yardage is only 275 yards. I think it's probably only 50 grams. Huh, it doesn't say. It doesn't feel like a 100-gram ball or skein. So yeah, it's only, I think it's like, it's probably 50 grams. I don't have my, do I have my scale with me? No, I don't have my scale with me to confirm that, but this is the color. They only had it in worsted weight before. So I got 3 skeins of the loft base, which is a fingering base. So that way I can make something for him. I made him like an infinity scarf a long time ago because he wanted one, and he wears it a lot. My husband is very knit-worthy. He wears all the pieces I've made for him, minus one of the beanies because he doesn't wear beanies anymore, but he used to wear it a lot. But everything else he wears a ton, and he said he wanted another one with this yarn, so I got enough to make something. I've been scouring Ravelry because I feel like with this yarn, like I feel like I don't want to make something that's just stockinette, you know? Like I feel like it should be something interesting that pops out, or maybe that would be too much because of the coloring. I don't know, but I feel like it definitely deserves something interesting to look at because it's already interesting. So I did find like I think it's the Inclinations Cowl by Andrew Mowry. He was like, okay, yeah, like I could go with that. He doesn't like just a regular cowl that only covers the neck because it's like it looks too stiff for him. He prefers like a slouchy look, so I've just been trying to find something, but because it's only 275 yards, I think it comes out to 820 yards. So I kind of have to find something that fits within that. And then I was like, you know what? If I can't find something, maybe I'll just make something with maybe some cables. I thought about a herringbone stitch with this as well. Have I ever done a herringbone stitch? No, absolutely not. Ooh, thumbnail. Let's see. But anyway, I thought about herringbone stitch scarf for him. Because why not? But yeah, that's that acquisition. And like I mentioned, I also have some summer yarn that I purchased. I got the Sannisgarn Tin Line, which is a fingering white yarn. I got it in the olive green color. Yeah, olive green. It is 53% cotton, 33% viscose, and 14% linen. I wanted to try this one for a while now, just because everybody's tried it. So I was like, I want to try it. Like, I also want to try something that isn't just cotton or just silk. I have wanted to try linen before, but I think maybe a blend would probably be the best way to like dip my toe in. I do like linen, the fabric, so I was like, okay, maybe like linen yarn would work as well. But I don't really have that many summer yarns. I do have some bamboo, but I think I'm realizing that I don't really like how bamboo works up for garments. Like maybe for small baby items, but for like adult size items, I'm not really a big fan of them. I prefer the silk, and cotton is just too stiff. The wool silk that I've gotten from Surly Yarn, I really love that yarn. That's like A+ so far, my number one summer yarn for me at least. But I want to try other ones too that are not hand-dyed, I guess. So I got Forest Gains, which it comes with, I think I saw it was like 200 meters or something. 220 meters, which is about 240 yards, I think. I'm not sure about my math, but I think that's the amount. So it's enough for like a tank top of some sort. Maybe a ripple halter. Maybe the mini mock neck. I don't really know what I want to make with it yet, but definitely a tank top. I also have some of the knitting, not knitting frolic, my favorite things knitwears. Let me see. Actually, yeah, I like it. There was a purple that they had, like an orchid purple. They had a couple of blues, and I've been really into like sapphire blues, but they didn't have that kind of color. Like I went out, go look at it in the light, and like it just wasn't it. It was just not for me. So I got this color instead, and I'm actually really pleased with how like what it's showing up on the camera is pretty true in person. But I'm really pleased with this decision. So I cannot wait to use it. Also, I believe Francesca is a really big fan of Lena, so I just can't wait to finally try it. So I have been influenced. But that's my yarn acquisitions. I have a book acquisition, and it is called the Knitting Pattern Writing Handbook. Ba-ba-da-da. It is written by 2 tech editors, and I got it a couple of weeks ago, I think. I almost got another Stitch dictionary last week, but I was like, okay, I need to work through the ones I have. But in case it wasn't obvious from the book, I do have some things in mind that I would like to make and have them become realized as patterns. But I've always been a little bit nervous about it. But some things have shifted in life that have made it possible to like actually see if those dreams can come true, I guess. When I was younger, I almost went to FIDM. That's not obviously saying that I did go to FIDM, but I was very interested in fashion, which I still am. Um, at my school too, I opened a fashion club with one of the older girls. I guess she's like a year older. We had to go through all of like the paperwork, convincing our administration that it would be useful, and because I went to a religious school, we had to somehow find a way to tie that into. So we opened it. Things recently, when I say things in my life have shifted, I mean mostly career wise. I did go back to work at this is just like a life update now, I guess. I did go back to work at the end of January. Things just started happening that really felt like it was time to leave. Like this place was no longer the place that I felt like I could grow or that felt worth it to me. Like as a new mom, it's so crazy like how things change, like perspective wise, I guess. And it's definitely one of those times in your life of you don't know until you're there, because I kind of thought like, oh yeah, like obviously like that's a given. Like of course it's hard to leave your baby. Of course it's hard to leave like the people you love when you have to work. But I didn't realize like the depth of those feelings, or of how deep of feelings you're capable of once you become a mom. So it just kind of became like a things are not as worth it. Like whatever was happening or shifting or changing, and like all of the emotions happening within the department, and everything was just not worth it anymore. And so I am on the search for something more remote that's flexible, and I left my job. Like I said, I think there was something that was kind of just making everything align that was just like, you know, it's your time is no longer meant to be here. So I'm not there anymore. So I was like, okay, you know, like positive spin, but not in a way that's like toxic positivity, you know, more like, oh, like maybe now I get to realize my dream of wanting to design a few things. Really, there's only one that's sticking out to me in my head, but I want it to be inclusive from the jump. I want to be able to do all the sizes. I want to figure out, I don't know, like I want to make it accessible to like for anyone who has like, okay, like say like for me, like I have visual impairment, not like legally blind or anything. Like I am farsighted. I have astigmatism, so um, reading reading things on my tablet is a lot easier for me because I can zoom in, zoom out. But also, I'm not always wearing my glasses, which I should be when I'm reading at least. And like my eyes jump, so it'll be like I'm reading up here, and then it jumps down here, and then like I can't focus. But then I started doing like patterns from Sandra Malgajes. She's I'll just put her Instagram handle because it's Portuguese and I don't feel that comfortable with my Portuguese pronunciation. But her patterns, she like highlights the sizes and has like the corresponding highlights in the numbers and the rest of the pattern. And I really appreciated that because it allowed my eyes to focus on that. So like in that way, I felt like it was visually accessible. And like I want to know like what are the other ways I can make it accessible, if that makes sense. Like um for like any other needs. Um so if you guys have any other ideas, like if you've seen other patterns that do something that like helps you a lot, like let me know, because that's something I want to incorporate from the beginning. And but yeah, that's why I got this book, to kind of help me through all of the technical aspects of everything. Um, and it kind of just it just goes through everything, like your gauge, what tech editors are, how to work with tech editors, how to find a good tech editor. So I'm really excited to delve into it, and kind of find that, like the theory behind designing, I guess, because I do, like, I have some ideas there, but it's funny because sometimes like the ideas I have end up being reality because another designer makes it, and I'm like, okay, then what's the point of me doing it if that designer already has it? Because then like I can just make it instead of having to struggle through all of the numbers. I'm not like, I love design, like I love the idea of fashion and designing, but I've always kind of nearly steered cleared because of the math. Like my friend, she went to school for fashion and she was sewing, and she's like, it's a lot of geometry, Brienne. And I was like, I like geometry is not as bad, but also fractions. Like I don't want to do that. But I feel like in that regard, knitting is like more um, forgiving in more ways than one. You know, like with the fabric, you can just rip it out. But sewing, you can't. You can adjust it, but if you rip out all of the stitching, like you ruin the integrity of the garment. And if you try to like you make something else from it, it has to be smaller, or at least maybe that's just the way I practice sewing. So it's definitely, knitting has been more practical for me in my lifestyle. And I feel like the numbers could be more forgiving, of course, with the right shaping and distribution of numbers. So, or stitches, the number of stitches. There we go. Um, but yeah, so like I think there's like I'm in a new period of life where I can try things. I'm still looking for remote jobs. I want to be a copywriter so bad, and I applied to be a bilingual copywriter because I can write in Spanish, I can read in Spanish. Um, so I'm really excited about this new chapter, I guess. It just hit me that I was like, oh my gosh, I left my job. And like I did have something lined up, but it's not like everything since I went back to work has been like, I think it's a great thing. And then it ends up like they end up changing their mind, or something happens where like it's not what I thought it was going to be, or the arrangements can no longer be the same and it changed and whatever. So I'm just like, okay, like I'm really glad I did a lot of mental work on myself, because if it was another time in my life, I would have been like, why is this happening? But now I'm like, maybe it's an opportunity for me to actually realize, some of the dreams I've had, some of the um, thoughts I've had in my head, like circulating there. But then obviously now I'm realizing, like, well, then that means I have to pause making other makers pieces, especially if I want to get something done quickly. And I know that's not true, though. Obviously, like you can practice your craft however you like. I'm knitting my kitty. It's right here. With my cat. Her name Peaches. But hi Peaches, say hi to the people. No, you don't want to say hi. There you go. She's purring. But yeah, that's just the season of life I'm in right now. I'm excited. Like there's a whole world of possibilities now. Um, so I remember now that like I am listening. I'm gonna be coming to the end of the video, I promise. But I'm listening to the book Babel by R.F. Kuang, I believe. She's an American writer, and it's not a Victorian novel by any means because it wasn't written back then, but it is a Victorian inspired novel, which I did get my bachelor's and master's degree in English literature, and my master's degree was with an emphasis on Victorian British literature. So like that's my jam. I love it. So I was recently listening to it, and it has like the perspective of someone who is learning English, but like the way like words form in someone's mouth and how like the mouth feel is of certain words. Like, I don't know, like it really made me excited again, and that it made me remember like I really like that's why I got into my field. I really love words, ideas. I really love this idea of like getting lost into worlds like that. I don't know. And I don't know, it just sounds silly like explaining it like that. But I even wanted to be a writer. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to write, but I'm going to write something. He was really into poetry though, um, especially as a Mexican and Puerto Rican American, or like basically like my family migrated and kind of living that experience. But those have always been like more for me. um, it's just yeah, specific circles. I'm like, oh, it's okay. Like I'm fine doing it just for me, you know. But I'm really glad like I found this love again of books and learning and words and ideas and it's because also I was re-listening to the Percy Jackson books, and like I went way beyond the hero or I'm into the Heroes of Olympus series now, and so I was like I'm gonna just keep listening to other books because I also love audiobooks because it feels like a little mini performance, I guess. And also it's easier for me with knitting. Like the knitting helps me focus on what's being said, and yeah, I love audiobooks too. um, but now I'm like I need to listen to more. Like what can I listen to? I think I've seen, because I think because I'm on this Greek mythology kick now, I'm like, is Circe a good book? um, I want to, I don't know, I want to devour everything. What are your book recommendations? Like I said, I'm very much into Victorian inspired novels, Victorian novels. I really like adventure novels, like in the Victorian way, you know, like Sherlock. There was also another, oh my gosh, there's another writer too, but now I can't even remember her name. There's a few like Victorian British female authors that I really love. Um, but now I can't recall what their names are. And that's very frustrating. It's just Sherlock is such a mainstream one that I'm like, oh yeah, of course I remember what Sherlock is. Um, but if you have any recommendations, I know this video is kind of everywhere. Like it's like from my whip talk to my finished objects and all that stuff. But that's my life update. I'm in a new season. I'm very excited and nervous, but excited mostly. Because then maybe I get to try out all these new things. I also get to share things more often with you guys. And most importantly, I get to be here for all of life's greatest moments and a very growing and small blossoming child. Um, and I also rediscovered my love of words and maybe, you know, being able to write again. So that's also exciting. And yeah, that's it. Well, I hope you guys liked my video. If you liked it, please consider subscribing, potentially sharing, liking this video. It really helps out this channel. I have a few other videos in mind, and I can't wait to share more things with you guys. But I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. And I got cut off in the middle of my goodbye. Anyway, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. I hope you enjoy whatever you're knitting on. And I will see you next time for a different video, not another podcast just yet. But I do have a few things lined up for you guys. When I mentioned just as like a precursor, when I had my Rip It video, someone had commented that they thought I was going to actually be frogging. And I was like, oh, I didn't realize that I like baited you guys. So I've been working on a frogging vlog. So it's gonna take a while though, because I am not always in the mood for frogging. things, especially with my alpaca linen one. Like, I'm not going to be in the mood to do that one anytime soon, but that's something to look forward to. I try to do close-up shots of frogging in case some people find that satisfying. And I also have one for spring, so I'm very excited to talk about all of those plans with you guys. But of course, those will be in different videos. But until then, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!